Have you ever wondered if an ordinary human being could actually pull off the spine-ripping, fire-breathing, ice-shattering moves and fatalities from Mortal Kombat? Let's dive into the science behind these superhuman feats and see if any of it could happen in real life. Spoiler alert, it's even crazier than you think. Mortal Kombat is a mystical tournament where the greatest fighters of Earthrealm, our world, face off against creatures from other realms. The rule is simple. If Earthrealm loses 10 times in a row, our entire planet falls into the hands of terrifying forces. In the games and some of the movies, we see iconic characters like Sub-Zero, who manipulates ice so casually it looks like child's play, except he can impale someone with a frozen blade. Scorpion, on the other hand, returns from the dead full of vengeance, shouting his classic, "Get over here!" and dragging anyone into a fiery nightmare. Goro, with his 4 arms, is basically a relentless boss character. And Reptile can turn invisible, spitting lethal acid. It's as if the creators tore up the laws of physics, making each fight feel like a nightmare of impossible moves. Anyone who watched the 1995 movie might remember Goro's intimidating power. In the 2021 film, Sub-Zero was practically a horror movie villain, freezing people and shattering bones without mercy, missing only the classic soundtrack playing every time someone got finished off. To face such extreme warriors, you'd need more than muscle or courage. You'd need reflexes bordering on superhuman. Think Olympic-level reaction times multiplied several times over. While elite athletes have reaction times around 0.15 to 0.2 seconds, Mortal Kombat characters seem to react in 0.05 seconds or less. Now, imagine surviving an iconic uppercut that can launch you skyward. In terms of force, we're talking 5,000 to 15,000 newtons of impact in a single punch. Roughly like getting hit by a speeding car, but all concentrated in a small point on your body. And it only gets worse. Sub-Zero, for instance, rips out an opponent's spine in some fatalities, which would require over 1,000,000 newtons of force, enough to crush concrete, like about 10 car accidents happening all at once. You'd also need a surreal tolerance for pain. Remember, in the game they get burned, frozen, electrocuted, and keep fighting like nothing happened. Shaolin monks undergo notoriously tough training and can handle extreme pain, but even they wouldn't come close to Mortal Kombat fighters who seem made of both rubber and steel. Now we reach the pinnacle of Mortal Kombat violence, the fatalities. Physics and biology are thrown out the window to create a grotesque spectacle. Let's break down some of them with more detail and numbers to understand the scale of the absurd. Sub-Zero is famous for instantly freezing his opponent and then shattering them. Practically speaking, this would be like using liquid nitrogen at about -196 degrees Celsius. If a person were immersed in liquid nitrogen, the body's water, over 60% of our weight, would freeze and expand by about 9% in volume, tearing cells apart from the inside. Within seconds, tissues, muscles, and bones would be so brittle that a single strong impact could literally break the body into pieces. In older fatalities, Sub-Zero also rips the head off with the spinal cord still attached. Tearing through the spine and the ligaments holding vertebrae together can approach 1,000,000 newtons of force, completely beyond human capability and akin to about 10 simultaneous car crashes. Scorpion often incinerates the opponent with intense bursts of fire. Human skin suffers severe burns at around 70 degrees Celsius, but the flames shown in the game and films easily exceed 1,000 degrees Celsius, a temperature used in some industrial processes to melt metal. In seconds, the body would be consumed because subcutaneous fat and muscle tissue tend to burn rapidly, generating internal temperatures so high they'd cause irreversible organ damage. In classic fatalities, Scorpion removes his mask, revealing a flaming skull, and blows fire right into his foe's face. The combustion speed would be so high that realistically, a victim could be reduced to ashes in under a minute, whereas a normal cremation takes at least 2 to 3 hours at around 1,000 degrees Celsius to fully destroy a human body. Kung Lao has an iconic fatality where he uses his hat like a buzzsaw to slice the enemy in half. Imagine a blade spinning at thousands of revolutions per minute to cut through human bone and tissue in a clean slice. In reality, even industrial saws face considerable resistance against something as dense as human bones. The spine alone can withstand about 5,000 newtons of compression before breaking, and tendons, ligaments, and muscles stretch a fair amount before tearing. Achieving such a perfect, swift cut, especially with blood and fat lubricating the blade, would be extremely difficult, bordering on impossible. Liu Kang sometimes transforms into a dragon to rip an opponent's body in half. This metamorphosis would require colossal cellular reorganization, making zero sense biologically. To become a dragon, you'd have to gain hundreds of pounds of mass in seconds, increasing height and limb span. The laws of thermodynamics and mass conservation make that clearly impossible. Also, biting a person in half would require jaw pressure in the multiple tons. A crocodile, for example, generates around 16,000 newtons of bite force, nowhere near enough to snap a human in two so easily. Shang Tsung sucks the soul out of his opponents, leaving only an empty husk, ignoring that there's no empirical proof of a removable soul. Science also has no explanation for a process that drains someone's life energy in seconds. It's like trying to measure the vacuum left by something we can't detect with known instruments. From a broad perspective, all these fatalities, however fascinating, blatantly defy anatomy, physics, and chemistry. They rely on stylized violence and extreme visual effects that have made Mortal Kombat a pop culture icon.
Fatality.
Now imagine you've trained like a monk, spent years studying martial arts, mastered advanced breathing techniques, and achieved a near superhuman level of fitness. Hypothetically, how would fights against Mortal Kombat's main fighters turn out? When facing Sub-Zero, you'd be up against someone who can drastically lower the surrounding temperature. Before you land a punch, the ground might be frozen, making your movements slippery and slow. He could form razor-sharp ice weapons that can pierce metal and freeze body parts in seconds. Imagine trying to block a strike, only for your arm to be instantly encased in ice that shatters your bones from the inside out. Now, fighting Scorpion would be like battling a fiery nightmare. You step forward and his chain flies toward you. The iconic "Get over here" echoes, and before you know it, you're pulled toward an opponent who can teleport via flames, dodge a sword swing, and he might appear behind you in the blink of an eye, conjuring fire hot enough to burn your clothing in fractions of a second. Going against Reptile is fighting the perfect adversary to drive you insane. In an arena full of ruins and smoke, he could camouflage himself to the point of near invisibility, leaving only faint movement clues. Suddenly, a jet of acid dissolves the ground next to you, and if you're hit, you'll suffer chemical burns that can destroy skin and muscle fast. Predicting his moves would require almost animal-like reflexes, acute hearing, and maybe some luck. Facing Goro, a monster that, with his 4 arms, is pure brute force. He can strike multiple points of your body simultaneously, easily breaking conventional defenses. Imagine trying a high kick while he grabs your legs and punches you in the face with the other 2 arms at the same time. Overcoming him would demand more than a superhuman strategy. You'd need superhuman endurance just to survive the first hit. Every fight is a mix of horror, adrenaline, and despair. You'd have to worry not just about avoiding death, but also evading a fatality that would leave your body and your reputation in pieces. Confronted with powers so far beyond scientific explanation, a human fighter's odds of survival are virtually zero. You'd need luck, training, and maybe even divine intervention to escape certain doom. All of this makes it clear that Mortal Kombat is pure fiction, pushing physical and biological limits to the extreme. And that's exactly why the franchise has been beloved for decades, whether in games or movies. The over-the-top action and stylized violence make for a unique spectacle. So here's the big question. If you got that invitation, would you join the tournament or run for your life? Tell us in the comments which fighter you'd challenge or which power you'd want to defend yourself. And if you want to keep exploring this wild universe, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Bonus question: which fatality left the biggest mark on your childhood or teenage years? Let us know.